Okay, go ahead.
Okay, good day, everyone. I hope you're all well, and I hope you're ready for something that will be spectacular. I have the distinct pleasure to introduce my good friend Derek to basically share his story. And let me tell you, it's pay close attention to what you're gonna hear, because very rarely people open up to tell their story, to tell their pains. They're basically they're suffering in the journey of success. Most people talk about success and just success, 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 and people think it's like, oh, it's walk in the park, and then they get disappointed, and then give up very quickly because they have never been prepared for actually what's ahead of them. And the more you hear, the more you understand that if you're experiencing rejections, if you basically are getting people saying no to you, and people don't pick up the phone, or they're just disappearing, hiding, signing in those programs that are like you can never find those people again. It's like CI is basically taking over. You understand that this is normal. This is part of the journey. This is what we tend to actually find, that it's like this is some people call this like a problem, but the more you listen, you start to understand that this is just a challenge, which is a personal challenge, and everyone is on a personal test, individual test, that everyone has to pass their own test. And Derek is a great example of incredible leader that, first of all, you can always count on. I mean, it's very rare you can find people that you can count on, that you can, you say, okay, we're gonna have a call, we're gonna have a presentation, we're gonna have a training. Now we're doing them virtually, which makes life easier for everyone. But I remember from years and years ago, in different projects that we worked together, how unbelievably spot on and reliable he has always been. This is very, very rare. If you're looking for partners that basically you want to partner, you're looking for this one quality that is unbelievably important, that you're gonna partner with someone that they can rely on you and you can rely on them, because this is what makes the journey worthwhile. If you have just one person that you can walk arms and you can go anywhere, doesn't matter how turbulent will be the journey, you can go anywhere, you can conquer anything. Because if you don't have this, it doesn't matter how good the opportunity is, it doesn't matter how good the compensation plan is and how rewarding it is. So look for people that they have the leadership qualities, that they're not afraid of the scars that they're gonna basically get along the way. They're more concerned to basically the people that they're serving, how they can help them, how they can empower them to get stronger, how they can empower them to grow faster, and to make their journey worthwhile. So without further ado, I want to bring my good friend Derek here and give him the podium to share his story and anything he wants to open up. And again, big respect to you, buddy, because it's like very few people are actually willing to open up and talk about themselves and what been going on in their journey. So huge respect and huge shout out to you, and everything you do every single day to make the team stronger, to make people more successful, and to create more wins every single day. Thank you for your leadership, and I look forward to hear your story.
Thank you, Boris. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for that. Yeah, it was quite a thing, actually, guys. I didn't realize how much I had. In fact, I haven't even. I think probably I could finish another another few hours even doing things and saying things that I will miss out. But I'll get a chance to say them at some other time. And I suppose this whole thing has come to the fore because of so much that's gone on in my life. I've never really had time to breathe. I've always been very, very busy doing things, and I've been. I'll just minimize so I can't see myself. That'll be easier. Okay, so yeah, I've never had a chance to stop and think. I was actually born in Kenya in 1960. That was when I was born, 1960, on the 24th of March. Quite a significant day, actually, as you'll come to realize when I talk about the stuff that we're going to talk about. But I was born at the age of 0, obviously. That's my mother. Funny story about my mother, actually. My dad, in those days, people used to travel long distances during their holidays because they could never fly or couldn't afford flying around the world. And my dad would take 3 months leave. And this particular time, he'd been corresponding with this woman in Hong Kong. And he said, "Okay, sounds good. She sounds like a great person to meet. Let me go meet her and then perhaps get married and bring her back to Kenya." He was in Kenya at the time, so he'd moved to Kenya. His father sent him to boarding school in India, and then his family moved to Kenya, East Africa, to make a new life. And what was really funny about this story, at the time perhaps it wasn't funny for him, but he traveled over to Hong Kong and he'd met this young woman, and he got to know her, got chatting and everything else, and it was like the first week I think when he was over there, and funny thing happened. He found out my dad was very strange. He had a strange thing. He had a thing about people's teeth, and this woman actually had false teeth, and I think it was that evening he went to see my grandmother now, because she was a part of the family, and was really worried about this because he said, "I don't want to get married to somebody with false teeth." He said, "I just couldn't live with it." So anyway, long story short, my grandmother's daughter was only 18 at the time, and she introduced her to my father, and this is who my mother is. So if it wasn't for those false teeth, I might not be here today. So that's an interesting story about how I was born. So I was born in Kenya. A lot of people, say, "Oh, right, Kenya." And when I went to school in England, I said to the people, we were watching Tarzan one day, and I said, "Oh, there, see that tree there? That's where I live. I live just under that tree." And they really believed me. Not everyone, but a few people did. People didn't know what Africa was like. There was a town called Nairobi, and it was quite modern. And this is our family. This is our family as we grew up. We had this is the first family before I left for the UK. At the age of 11, my father sent me off to boarding school like himself in the UK, and we had a good life. My father was a very, very hardworking financial director for Volvo for East Africa. So he gave us a good life. We had good holidays. Everything was good. I've not experienced anything other than the good life. Our holidays were in five-star hotels every year. We traveled all around Africa. My dad used to come back with a new car every year. It was just fantastic. It's a sort of dream lifestyle, I suppose. This was the house that my dad eventually left to a convent. He'd actually built it over years and then started renting out apartments. And it was very small. It was actually only a three-bedroom house when it started when I was born, and eventually became, I think, a six, seven, even eight-bedroom house. Plus, there was a house behind it that he built as well. This was our swimming pool, and we used to go to school from there. So my family were very, very close, and we were very, very. We had two more children added to the family, two brothers. One is Alan. He's in Kenya now, and he's in Epic. And yeah, the usual things with Africa, the safaris and everything else. This was my first school in Kenya. My father again could afford to send me to the best schools in Kenya. And this was a school called Loreto Convent, run by nuns. It was a Catholic school. So everything was good. I had the dreams, the wishes, etc., that most people had. I grew up liking cars and boats and lovely holidays and things. This was the usual thing. But we don't always realize sometimes that we are lucky sometimes, but then sometimes we don't understand that we have lessons to learn in life. My first experience of being alone was being sent to boarding school in the UK. This was my school. It was near Oxford, and it was a brilliant place to be in, and the friends I made I still have today. But it was quite a shock to my system because I'd been so used to living with my parents, and not really being away from them. And in fact, I found out later, my mum died quite young, and I found out from her on her deathbed that she was actually against me leaving to go to the UK, but she never divulged that to me. It was my father's wish that I go to boarding school because he thought it had done him a lot of good and made him very independent. Yes, it did, but I did miss out on the family life a bit. I used to go back for holidays, and go backwards and forwards. So that was my view. In fact, that middle top window was where my bedroom was, and I used to see this little canal that used to, at the end of this canal where the photo's being taken for, is the River Thames. We were very, very lucky where we were in the school. We had all the things we needed and a good upbringing, really. And quickly move on. I decided, in fact, at school when I finished my O's and A levels, I decided I wasn't going to go to university. And the real reason for that was I felt I was becoming too much of a burden on my father because everything was costing double. So if you imagine fees for a private boarding school, imagine they're quite expensive already, but it was costing him double what it would cost somebody in the UK, and I could feel the burden. And when I finished schooling here, I finished my A levels. Rather than go to university, I decided to actually start working, and I joined a company called Trust House 40, which is a very very large hotel chain. And funny enough, they took me on as an undergraduate, a postgraduate student and trainee manager. So I got into them, and this is the first place I worked. It's in Piccadilly Circus. I couldn't find any photos. The place is gone now. It was called the Criterion Theatre, and it became a restaurant. And I eventually became deputy manager at this restaurant. And this was sort of in the 1970, 1980, 1985, 86 time. So it's quite a long time ago. It's no longer there. I think they've got a lot of shops now built into that area. Moving along, I got married, as most people do, at a very young age, at the age of 21, and then had my daughter, who's now 24. That become again, I didn't realize, I was one of these people who were in restaurants and telling my partner at the time, all these people can't look after their children. Why do they let them scream, etc. Until you have your baby, until you have your child, you don't realize fatherhood is a lot more than just looking after the kids and controlling them, because sometimes they have a mind of their own. Anyway, my daughter's 24 now, and she's moved on, and she's actually become a very resourceful person, very independent. She lives in London, working in a very, very good job, and very independent. And that's what I like about it. She's very independent, and I think I'd like to think that some of the things I taught her have helped her become that way. It's important to get, the right work-life balance, and I believe that while I was working, and growing up, I feel personally that I didn't actually spend as much time as I would have liked to with my daughter, and perhaps my ex-wife as well. And that's perhaps why we're not together again today, because we did. I considered work the most important thing, and money to me was everything. And I've since been taught that, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. But I tell you what, you can compound the interest the wrong way as well. Because if you continually do things that are not necessarily what you want them to be, you'll get the compound effect of that. And I think that's what's happened over my life. Having come from a very wealthy background and living a good life, um, it sort of made me forget that there are people out there who are suffering. Again, this is just going through some of the things I went through. Boris and I have been through many things. But just before I go back there, by the way, just to let you know a bit about some things that's happened in my childhood. My first girlfriend at the age of 12 or 13, I think it was. I was traveling backwards and forwards to Kenya, and I had this girlfriend, and she was very, very nice, and I liked her a lot. And one year I came back to England. I mean, sorry, to Kenya, and she wasn't there. And I was asking around, and people were reluctant to tell me where she'd gone. Anyway, long story short, she'd actually been flown to the UK. Her parents had found out she got a serious case of leukemia, so she went to the UK to get treatment. I then returned after my summer holidays to England, and again sought her parents out, who were again reluctant to meet with me. And I'd found out since then I'd found out that she'd actually passed away, and that was quite a shock to me because I've never had anyone, close to me pass away at such an early age as well. And people sort of kept quiet about it in those days. They would actually not actually do much in terms of, um, you know, people tended to keep quiet about things like that. They didn't want to talk about it. They weren't very open about things like that. So that was my first experience of losing somebody very, very close to me. And as I was saying, I grew up and I actually started at the work in London, and at the same time, I actually came across a company called Amway. We didn't have internet in those days. We used to actually have to meet people, talk to people face to face. In fact, I tell you what, when you this is another thing that's inspired me really to write this, because people don't appreciate really what people used to do to build a network marketing business in the old days. Nowadays we can do it on the computer, we can meet people across the world, etc. And I used to always hear these Americans saying on tapes, we travel 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever, to meet people, and then find they didn't want to join our different opportunities. And in fact, that was my first experience. I noticed as I was building Amway and my Amway team, one day I remember I had somebody, he was a colleague of mine. His girlfriend had joined Amway, and he'd actually come along, and he was in the army, and he'd actually had a family in Scotland. So he said, "Okay, Derek, I've got a team in Scotland I want to build," and then he said they're all really excited and everything. I've told them about it. Let's go up there and show them the presentation. We used to call it drawing circles. We used to say, "This is you," and draw the circles, and then everyone underneath, etc. Anyway, long story short, we left at 6 o'clock that morning. I was a catering manager at the time, and he was going to meet me, and he'd taken the 2 days off, and I'd taken 2 days off. So we left at 6 o'clock in the morning. We got to Scotland, Edinburgh, in fact. We got to Edinburgh in the evening sometimes. Again, it's about 13 hours. We were driving one after the other. So he drives so many miles, then I drive so many miles. So we got to Scotland expecting to see lots and lots of people at this house for I think it was 7 o'clock no, 8 o'clock that evening, in fact, because we used to have our presentations always at 8 o'clock. So we arrived in Scotland, and lo and behold, there was only two people there, and that was the owners of the house. All their guests were not coming. It was a no-show. So we'd driven all the way to Scotland for a no-show, and I was thinking, what do we do now? So we got these people to ring up their friends and try and get people over. And eventually we managed to get a couple. They managed to phone this couple. They said, "Yeah, well, you can come to our house and do it." So we went to their house. So we went to their house, got to the house, and funny, we got there and everything was dark. There was no lights on, and I was thinking, well, what, have they gone out and come back or what? And we didn't have mobile phones in those days, so we couldn't contact people. So we knocked and knocked at the door, nobody in. And I couldn't believe it. We couldn't find anybody. And I thought, what's going on here? Very strange people, these. But I found out afterwards, since that, it used to happen quite a lot to people, but, they didn't necessarily travel so far. So we then, that morning, started our drive back to England, another 12 hours, and I was working that day as well. So you can imagine. I mean, imagine if I told one of you guys, that you'd have to go all the way to Scotland, do a presentation, and then somebody doesn't show up for the presentation, and you can't show it to anyone, and then you'll drive all the way back at your expense, and then what do you do? It's crazy. You just can't imagine that nowadays. It's so different. But I'm just trying to sort of give you an idea of how the pioneers of network marketing started. This is what they used to do. And if it wasn't for them, if it wasn't for the likes of the people who traveled those hours, in America, across America, sometimes 2, 3 days to meet other people, I don't think network marketing would have evolved to what it is today, and the sort of people that that it's built. And there's a lot of well-known people who've written some very good books as well in the industry. So this is one of the holidays we got on one of the businesses I did, one of the projects with Boris. And in fact, that's Boris and Sveti walking up this mountain that we went to see. We actually had a lot of very good holidays. So network marketing has done well for me and for Boris. We've been treated first class. Everything's paid for. Imagine having quality time with the friends that you've built up. Imagine, with Epic, we're all on a holiday next year in Dubai. We haven't met each other physically, but imagine your family and our families meet together. We're going to be like-minded people getting together. We're going to have such a good time because you see, when you meet people that you work with, meet people that you team up with, meet people that you make friends with, these are lasting friendships, and you become very close. And it's funny, since I've been in this type of network type business, every time I've gone on these trips, even though I've never met the people before I meet them, when I meet them, even though maybe I've only just spoken on the phone, it feels like I've known them forever. So you make very, very long-term friendships. So, we've been to the Sheraton in America. We've been treated again to that sort of lifestyle. And it's a great lifestyle to have, don't get me wrong. It's very, very good. And you meet some very nice people on the way as well. You get rewarded. So my life was going well in my business. So I thought, and I was making money enough to invest in a conventional business. And this is when things sort of turned around for me, really. I was building a couple of different types of networks, and I actually invested all my savings. In fact, I sold my house as well to invest in this and moved into rented accommodation. So we actually invested all our money in our jewelry business. But sometimes you do things without thinking. You don't actually think things through. I'd never been involved in jewelry. I'd never actually learned anything, and the thing is, sometimes also you look at the markets. At the time, things were going well, gold prices were up, so we were selling and buying gold. But the recession was coming, and that hit us quite badly. As a result of that, I had to actually close the jewelry shop down. I paid my staff, again, not fully knowing what to do. I paid my staff on my credit cards until I couldn't afford to take any more money out of my credit cards. This was our goldsmith. He actually spent time making bespoke jewelry for customers. It was costing an arm and a leg. It cost me £15,000 a year just for the goldsmith and the shop and everything else. We had a nice house. We paid off, because we'd made quite a lot of money. We paid off the rent for 2 years on this house. My daughter used to have parties there and everything. It was really, really good. I was getting all the accolades in the different businesses I was in, but unfortunately, and I was meeting the right people. This is a meeting with Big Al Tom Schreiter in Staffordshire. He helped me build quite a few of the networks I worked with, because we became quite good friends. But in the background, things were actually crumbling. I was getting more and more in debt. I was finding that I was struggling to make ends meet. And then unfortunately, my health gave in as well. This is again some other people that I met through another company I developed and became a good salesperson. But everything was going so well. But I think someone up there needed to teach me another lesson. And one day I was at work and I came home, and my partner Jane now, she said to me, "You look really ill. You don't look very well." And she called 999. I think it was, wow, 999 in those days, and the paramedics came over, and the next thing I was being rushed to hospital with a suspected heart attack, and that was quite a shock to me, because I didn't think I was a heart attack type person. I thought I was quite healthy, but I'd realized then I had neglected myself. I was maybe drinking too much and eating too much and put on too much weight. But this was the first wake up call. I got the wake up call in the sense that it sort of made me start thinking. But not only that, because I'd lost my business in the process, I couldn't regain my health to actually help me, work it. I had to give it up completely, um, and literally lost everything. I had to send Jane, my partner, to her brother's in Scotland because we couldn't afford to live anywhere. I had actually almost, well, I had become homeless completely. Fortunately for me, I ended up on a few friends' settees for about a year. I was sofa surfing, and I was a bit depressed, I suppose, at the time, but I suppose it's not surprising. But then I realized, I can't go any further down. I've got to only go up. I can only go up now. So maybe I can turn this around. And within a year, after the year of being homeless, I was able to completely turn it around. And my philosophy is, now I've learned what I need to learn. I know that money isn't everything. And I tell you what, it is not everything, but it's also very important. But it's what you do with it. You see, I don't necessarily need the big car now. I don't need the cars, actually. I have two or three cars plus a van. Um, I need less now, but I spend a lot more quality time with people. I spend time helping people. I get more out of being with people and helping people and having good memories from those sorts of things than I do buying the cars and the houses and everything else. My yearning is now to travel the world. I've still got a long way to go because a lot of those different things, the debts that I have, actually followed me through, even through to today. And it wasn't until I joined Epic that I realized that there was a way out. So it's funny how we learn things, isn't it? We have to go right down to rock bottom sometimes before we actually learn that there is a lot more to learn, and before the humility comes in, And this is Sage Lamani, one of the millionaires in the UK, saying, don't chase the money, create value, and the money will knock on your door. But it's so true, because if you create value with what you're doing, as opposed to thinking of money, I don't think about money. I mean, some people know here that I've actually helped a few people get started with the fact that they're going to, pay me back when they join. But I don't think people realize sometimes how poor people around them are. Because somebody looks like they're not very poor doesn't mean they are. We should never take people for granted. People think they're poor because they moan to other people that they can't afford to join the business, they can't afford to do that, and yet other people manage to do it. I several times could not afford to join these opportunities, which helped me make more money. But I actually found a way. And the point I'm trying to make really is sometimes we use excuses, all the time, to not do things. And then we try and force other people to do things for us instead of doing it for ourselves. The thing is, I've learned that unless you actually go through some of the hardships, you won't get what you really, really want, because it's God's way of showing us really that we need to be humble. We need to be, grateful for all that we've got currently, And it's funny how when you've actually been somewhere, when you've lost somebody, for example, I lost my mum at a very early age, um, and my brother even younger. He was even younger when we lost her, and she died of cancer, and that was a shocking time as well. So when you lose people, when people say to me, "Oh, you don't know how you feel," I do. And when people say to me, "I'm poor, I can't afford," I wonder how many people, have actually been homeless and actually not begging, but I've gone to the council, to our local council, to get an emergency fund just to feed me. That's how bad it got. And some people don't actually appreciate that other people have been through things like that. They think that, because somebody looks great up front and is smiling all the time, that, oh, they'll give me money, they'll help me, they'll lend me money, you know, knock on their door. And yes, sometimes those people are so caring. Sometimes I know people, for example, in our team who will do do without a meal to help somebody in the business. I know that's happened. I won't name anybody, but I know it's happened. And the thing is, it's sometimes important for us to look at ourselves and actually think to ourselves, does anyone owe you your life? Or do you want to live your life for you? Do you want to start living, a life that is deserved of what you get out of it? That's the important thing. Do you deserve that lifestyle? Now, funny enough, when you actually go through all the things I've been through, the last month has probably been the easiest month I've ever lived in. I've got a job that's paying double what I paid before. I'm being paid on furlough. That means I'm getting 80% of my income paid to me for the next 4 weeks. And I'm able to build Epic at the same time. I made Epic 500 in 9 days after I joined on the 1st of October. It's funny how they say when you actually are deserving of something, things come flying at you left, right, and center. And I'm not doing very much to get it. I'm not putting the sort of effort. I'm not driving to Scotland. When you've paid your dues, I think God answers you in kindness. He doesn't want to hurt us, but sometimes we have to learn lessons, and those lessons are to be humble and understand how people feel, about poverty, about sickness, about health. All these things afflict a lot of people. I feel I've had my fair share now. Hopefully that'll be it. I've had one other heart attack, and that was 6 years ago, and I think that was the last one I'm ever going to have. I hope, God willing. But the thing is, I've become much healthier. I've looked after myself, because again, sometimes we don't look after our health. We don't think of the long-term repercussions. It only takes time for us to develop bad habits. Habits are a bad thing as well. And the other thing I'd like to say, people think it's easy for me to talk to people, to stand up and talk to people. It's very, 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 it always has been very difficult. And I remember my first experience with Amway. I've told some of you this. I and my wife built a big team in Amway. We went across stage at Wembley, and I was asked to speak, and I froze and I couldn't say a single thing. My wife had to speak on behalf of both of us. So, having realized that, when I started reading about self development, and that's also another very important part of life, you have to sometimes grit your teeth and do the things you don't like to have the things you do like. It's important to understand that. You sometimes have to do the things that you don't like to do to have the things that you want. And it does take effort. But believe me, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And this is what I tell people. People see me and I sound confident, like I can speak to anybody and everything else. But it took me years of practice to get that far. And when you see people who are successful in Epic, for example, if you listen to their backstories, you'll find out they just haven't got there by simple fluke. I've paid what, 40, 50, 60 years of my life, I've paid my dues. It's about time something good happened. And I believe that is happening. And the only reason it's happening is because I understand about wealth. I understand about sickness, and I understand how people feel. And the important thing here is for you to, in this business, to latch on to people who are doing well in it and follow them, grab their coattails, grab the coattails of our sponsors and, the people who are doing well, and follow what they're doing. The reason why I stick with Boris is because I know Boris does always do well. And I know through being with him, I will be with other people. I remember a meeting many, many, many years ago when I first met Boris. This was interesting, actually, Boris. I don't know if you remember this. We were in a, no, I wasn't. I went to this hotel for this meeting. It was one of my first network marketing meetings for a long time after Amway. And I remember Boris and a few of the leaders in that company were in the swimming pool relaxing. So I'd gone there to see them. I'd seen them on video and things like that, but I'd not met them. And I remember looking at them all and thinking, wow, these guys are the ones, they've arrived, they're earning all the money. And I was thinking, wow, wouldn't it be good? And I thought, right, first thing I want to do is stick with them to find out what they do to get what they want. And that's the way you learn. You learn from the people who are already doing it. If you carry on doing the things you're doing and you don't like where you are, you'll end up where you are anyway. So you've got to change something in your life. And if you want to change something, find out what the people who are successful are doing so you can change some of the things that you're doing to get what they've got. It's as simple as that. Now, I've gone on for a while and I'd like to probably close there other than say that, I'm very happy at the moment with Epic, and it's probably one of the best business presentations I've ever seen. And to be honest, I think this is the one. I think this is my last ever network marketing business, and I think it'll be one that's going to help a lot of people. The amount of people in our team that have gone 500 is unbelievable, and we're only into the second month now. Before they used to talk about getting $500 used to take 2 to 5 years. With Amway, it took about 5 years to get $500 a month, and that was a team of 100. So, guys, we've got something very, very special here. And if you're not able to get your three, you need to look at yourself seriously and say to yourself, what do I need to do to get those three? Because if you can't bring three people into this business, then you need to learn some serious stuff. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to take any excuses from anyone because anyone can do this, honestly. If you put your mind to it, anyone can do it. But you've got to have the reason why. Your why is very, very important. If you haven't got a strong enough why, then it won't make you do the things you need to do. It's got to be a strong why that's got to allow you to then do the things that you would normally feel uncomfortable doing. And there's plenty of books out there. There's plenty of us that can talk to you, in your leadership. We're here to help you and hold your hands all the way, but we're not going to build it for you because at the end of the day, you won't feel like you've deserved any of it. And funny enough, where I've built businesses to a high level, because I've been helped or because it's too easy or because I haven't done much to get it, I've also lost it. So sometimes we have to lose what we get in order to appreciate what we've got and also to be worthy of it. Because when you are worthy of it, through your efforts and your efforts alone, it's amazing how things will come to you. And that's what it's all about, being worthy and also respecting your upline's time. Some of you think you can just ring your upline anytime, not realizing they have a life outside this business. Respect their time. Ask them if they've got time to speak to you. Ask them if that you can have a minute. There's nothing wrong. They want to help. I'm not saying they don't, but don't take advantage to that extent. Start doing some of the things that you can do yourself. And the best thing you can do for us, Boris and I and Disha and other leaders in the group, the best thing you can do for us is actually bring guests to the presentations. That's when we love it, when you're able to bring them and keep your invites very short. I'm going to shortly put an invite video into our meeting. I found it while I was looking through my photos. I found an invite video, and I think it's a very, very good video. So I'll be putting that into the WhatsApp group so you guys can listen to it. And it's from somebody who Boris and I both respected many years ago. And I think he gives a very, very good talk on it. So with that, I'd like to finish here and end up, maybe Boris wants to say a word or two, and then we'll be closing. Thank you, Boris. Are you there? Let me see where you are. Okay.
Okay, that was fantastic, Derek. Thank you very much for pouring out from your heart and sharing your journey. It was exceptional, and I truly hope that everyone that was here was paying attention. Like, there is no easy journey. Everyone that you see that is growing by, by decision. People have decided to grow. People have decided to overcome basically their fears, their challenges, and to become the person that they were born to be. No one basically is building statues on people that basically are live in fear. The statues are built for people that are fearless and that are making difference. So every one of you basically can be a strong leader. Every one of you can bring direct say three. No, three is like the absolute minimum. It's almost like you don't want to be begging for help. You want to become the help for people that are looking up to you. So you want to take this like as a journey, not as a done deal. I've done my bits with bringing three. No, why you stop at three? If you know that you have something that is of value to everyone, that could be in direct situation or in anyone's situation that is like it's a hard situation, is something that they want to change, but they don't have the means, they don't have the vehicle to be able to change. And you have this vehicle and you're not connecting with them and you're not giving them the opportunity to basically experience how they can get out from this dark place that they are to the place that they want to be. So never think, the company requires three. No, it's your duty, as Grant Cardone will say, and your obligation to be a decent individual, to be a decent person that is looking to help, that is always supporting and looking who needs basically my message, who needs my vehicle to be able to get out from the place that they are. And if you do this, and if you do this consistently, you're gonna start to discover that you are worthy. You can become like anyone you want. You're no different than any successful person in network marketing in any company. They just have decided and they stay with their decision to compound on their efforts. And everyone else, number one, didn't decide it because probably they didn't have strong enough why, so they didn't decide it. The minute they see an obstacle and the obstacle is bigger than basically their reason why they're doing it, they pull out, they disappear. And then once people decide, they need to be focused, disciplined, and consistent. So those three things, if you remember, focus, discipline, and consistency, after you made the decision, can pull you through anything in life, through anything. Most people don't have the focus, number one. Their life is like it's a mess. It's like so many things they're trying to do, and it's impossible. You need to know that unless you have priorities, you can never get things done. Never. And priority is not more than 3 things a day. This is what priority means. If you have more than 3, you don't have any priorities. So if health is one of your priorities, maybe wealth is going to be one of your priorities. And then if it's wealth, then you need to have a plan how you're moving forward. And your wealth is combination of your health, but also of the deposits that you make on yourself and the deposit that you make on others. This is your wealth, that you're building with your time, not with your capital. So think about this. And then Then after the focus is the discipline. How many people do you know that are disciplined? Like I said in the beginning of the call, how difficult it is to find people that you can rely on, that you can go on battles with them and you know that they're basically next to you, looking after your back. How many people do you know that basically their word is worth basically something? When they say something, it means something. You're gonna discover that those people are not that many. So number one is you want to be this person for yourself, for your self-respect, and for your family and the people around you. And then you want to look for those people and build those people because it's really just a character builder. And what Derek has managed to build over this is a character, a strong character, that this is what separates the leaders from everyone else. They build their character through adversity. And then persistence. If you look in business, in life in general, why most people give up on what is important to them, on what they want, on what they desire? Well, because they're not persistent enough to go through anything. Like we said, if life is a test, and it's not just one test, it's a series of tests that everyone must overcome. So the bigger the test, the further you go or you grow, then you need to be aware that this is a journey that, the more you want out of life, the bigger the test will be. So it's not just one, it's like, is they gonna be ahead of you? You have to expect them. But you have to look at those tests, because every time you overcome your test, your next test is putting you in a high level of success, high level of self-respect, high level of you as a human being and what you're delivering. So keep all those three things in mind. Get a strong why, decide, and then focus, discipline yourself, prioritize, and stay consistent. And if you stay consistent, you're compounding. And anytime you start to compound and you start to teach your people to compound, miracles can happen. Miracles can happen. Because then you start to make the things that most people, 98, 99% of the population, will never make. They'll never be consistent. They'll never be disciplined. They'll never be, prioritizing things and have a focus to make the things happen. So everyone can start, but very few can finish. Be a finisher. Be the leader that you deserve to be for yourself and for your people, just like Derek is. Thank you very much, buddy. You've been amazing today. I really appreciate everything that you share, and I hope it was impactful for everyone, not just for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Boris. And let's get some people in tonight for the presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I've recorded this, so I will actually put it up when I've done the recording. Thank you very much for listening.